Hey everybody, it's Naya. Welcome back to Naya Reads and Smiles. Hey guys! Okay, so I just came back from the North Texas Teen Book Festival. In Texas, there was a half-price books and this half-price books, you guys. Essentially, the store is exactly how it sounds. Everything is half-priced. A lot of the books are in really good condition as well. Like, almost all of these look brand new. I think there's a few that are a bit older, but for being half-price, like $5, $6, they are really, really in great condition, and I was so excited because I found some books that I have been searching for. Oh, I'm not gonna break into song. I swear the book gods must have been listening because there's 3 books in particular that for the past 2 years I have been searching for these specific cover editions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, I got a few more than I thought I did. I was gonna say like 5 or 6, but there's 12 here. Obviously, I cannot count. Before we get into this video, I got a sponsor. Today's video is so kindly sponsored by my friends over at Skillshare. Skillshare is a wonderful online learning community for creatives like me, and probably you, maybe, if you're interested in any sort of creative career or hobby. It is a place where millions of people come together to take the next step in their creative journey. Skillshare is amazing. They have quite literally thousands of videos on just about every topic. You guys know my favorite videos to watch are the ones on writing and film, but they have everything from illustration to graphic design, photography, videography, art, business classes. My personal favorite class that I've discovered on their site is called Storytelling 101, Character, Conflict, Context, and Craft. Essentially breaks down the storytelling process and is wonderful. I would highly recommend it for anyone who's interested in writing. Whether you want to better your skills or pick up a new skill, they have classes ranging from beginner to advanced. So if you're totally brand new at something, they have classes in a beginner level for you, and if you're a master at a subject, they have advanced classes as well. Coolest thing that Skillshare has that really makes it feel like an interactive experience is that they have video lessons as well as class projects that go along with some of those lessons. Skillshare is honestly amazing, and a premium membership is less than $10 a month. So yes, if you guys want to check it out, Skillshare was so kind to give me a link, which I'll include in the description box below. So the first 500 people to click and sign up will get 2 months free of a premium membership, so definitely take advantage of it. Where do I even start with all of these books? I think I'm gonna start with those 3 books that I told you guys I was kind of looking for, and then just like magic, they quite literally were there. If you guys know or don't know, I am a diehard Percy Jackson fan. Percy Jackson was a book series that got me into reading. I made a video called My Favorite Books of All Time, and I kind of explain why that book series means so much to me. For me, I was a Camp Half-Blood girl. Okay, so Rick Riordan was like my main man. So the first 3 books I have here are the last 3 books in the Percy Jackson series. The reason why I was dying when I saw this is because this is the original cover edition. So these are the covers that I read when I was a kid. These were the covers that were on the shelves. I know, oh gosh, I think the covers have been changed a few times now, and I know there's a different edition for the UK covers as well as Australia. I think there's a different cover. They changed the cover to like this new collector's edition one, which I have. It's kind of this blue-green scheme, and personally I think all the covers kind of look the same. These are like the OG nostalgic covers. The wonderful librarian was the one who recommended the Percy Jackson series to me when I was like 10, 11 years old. But it really was these covers that made me say, okay, I'm gonna give it a try, because they just looked so cool. Oh my god, I don't even think I told you. Hold on one second. I have the Lightning Thief here as well as the Sea of Monsters, and I got both of these at a Goodwill for $2. I got them for, like, a part of me is really happy that I was able to get them for $2, but another part of me is like, how dare you price Percy Jackson at $2? Like, he's worth at least like $2 million. Got these 2. Unfortunately, they only had the paperback. I would have gotten the hardback just because the hardback, as far as like books that I collect, I like to have it in a hardback because they last longer. Literally only had these 3 books, which is the exact 3 books I needed. There's angels up there. The Battle of the Labyrinth, which is the 4th book, and then the Titan's Curse, which is the 5th book, and The Last Olympian, which I still remember so vividly. Okay, this book messed me up. Like 13-year-old Naya was crying and just a mess. Look at it, okay? It's like a canvas, you know, like just like an art, you know, where you put the paint on the beautiful, okay? It's beautiful. If anybody has good recommendations as to how to get stickers off of books, I have been struggling for 6 years. You guys know I always buy like thrift books and secondhand books, and some of these stores, they put them, why don't you put it here? Okay, so the next 2 books that I picked up, again, the gods must have been listening because I recently discovered this new author. Her name is Lisa C, and she wrote this wonderful, amazing book called The Island of Sea Women. It's a historical fiction novel. It takes place in Korea. It is just tears. If this book was an emoji, it would just be like the teardrop emoji because I was crying so hard by the end of the book. Lisa C immediately became one of my new favorite historical fiction authors, even though that was the only book of hers I had read. I was able to find 2 of Lisa C's books, and there was actually 4 on the shelf, but because of the limited carry-on space I had, like I said, I was traveling in Texas, ration myself. The first one I got, I believe, is one of her older books. It came out in 2003 or 2004, and it says here as well that it's a major motion picture, so I'm guessing there's a movie adaptation, which I'm really excited about. So it says here that this book takes place in 19th century China, which is awesome. Like I said, her last book took place in Korea. It says here this book takes place in 19th century China in the remote village of Henan, or Henan country, and we're following a young girl named Lily who gets paired up with a Lao Tong, or an old same. She's matched up with a friend essentially from a really young age, which this sounds just like her other book. What made The Island of Sea Women so good was honestly just the friendship in the book, and I can tell that it seems to be like a theme of her writing because in this book here we're following a girl who gets matched up with a best friend. These 2 girls end up growing up together and they communicate through a silk fan. So I guess in this time period there was a language that was written specifically by women for women to communicate with each other without their husbands and other men kind of reading what they're writing. As the years pass, Lily and Snowflower, who's her friend, send messages on the fan and compose stories on handkerchiefs, reaching out of isolation to share their hopes, dreams, and accomplishments. Like I said, on a historical fiction kick, so like, I'm ready to cry, okay? And the second book I got is The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane. Now, this was actually the book that you guys recommended the most that I read after I was, you know, obsessing over The Island of Sea Women. It also takes place in China, and it says here it takes place in the remote mountain village where her family has aligned their lives around the seasons and the farming of tea. So they farm tea leaves. The village that she lives in, as well as just the culture that she lives in, is very ritualistic, and so they have a lot of traditions and rituals that they follow, not only when it comes to farming tea but also just in their day-to-day lives and practice, until one day a foreigner shows up in a jeep and she is suddenly exposed to a world and a culture outside of her own. As she gets to know this foreign man, her ideologies start to change a bit and she slowly starts rejecting the traditions and the rituals of the village that she's grown up in, and she aspires to have more outside of where she's from. She ends up having a child out of wedlock and decides to give up the child for adoption. In this book, we're essentially following her life now after giving up her child for adoption and where her life went after that, and we're also following the daughter who gets adopted by a family in America and grows up in California. So I'm guessing it's going to be told from a dual perspective, which I'm very excited about, and I'm not sure if the mother and the child end up reuniting. It sounds like it's gonna be one of those stories, but yeah, we're following what happens with the daughter and what happens with this mother who decides to stay in China and try to live a semi-normal life, I guess you could say, after having a child. I love novels that follow family. Like I said, super into historical fiction right now. I love books that span a whole lifetime of a character or 2 characters. Okay, the next book that I picked up, I gotta thank Elias. Shout out to Elias. If you don't follow his channel, it is literally just Elias. Just type it in the search bar. He is the best person ever. He was the one who actually found the half-price books in Texas when we were there. And this book, okay, I'm just gonna give you a warning. The cover is glorious. I feel like whenever there's a naked torso on the cover, it's either gonna be like urban fantasy or like real high fantasy stuff. Yeah, shout out to Elias. He read the first 4 or 5 books in this series, and it is urban fantasy. There was a period between like 2005 and early 2011 when urban fantasy was bigger than fantasy, and I was a fan of urban fantasy. A lot of the stories that I used to read on Wattpad were urban fantasy novels, which is like supernatural, werewolf, vampire kind of stuff, you know, Twilight, yeah, you got that era. First book I have here is Moon Called, a Mercy Thompson novel by Patricia something. You see the sticker that follows our main character named Mercy Thompson, and she is a were-coyote. I say were-coyote because I'm a huge Teen Wolf fan, and there is a character in okay, we're gonna talk about Teen Wolf for a second. There's a character in Teen Wolf who she can turn into a coyote, so she's like a shifter, which is not the same as this book. But anyways, Malia from Teen Wolf reminds me a lot of the main character. She even kind of looks like her a little bit. Our main character can shift into a coyote, and her next door neighbor, who I'm guessing is the love interest of the story, is a werewolf. Not only that, but Mercy Thompson is a mechanic, so she like fixes cars, and she is currently fixing a bus that belongs to a vampire. So yeah, that's the premise of it. She is just in the middle of all of this supernatural hotness, and I'm excited. When I say I was a hardcore urban fantasy girl, like if you guys saw what was on my old Kindle back in like 2010, you would laugh because all the covers look like this. I think there's like 14 or 15 books in this series, Elias said, and he said it was a really great book to get you out of a reading slump and you just kind of fly through it, because I think it's only like 250 pages. The next book I have here is a big old one, and I think this actually might be a textbook. I'm not sure if it is used in like the academic setting, but I got it because I'm very much interested in this topic. American Indian Myths and Legends, selected and edited by Richard Edos and Alfonso Ortiz. Now this book is a collection of 160 tales from over 80 different Native American tribal groups, and it is folklore mixed with myths and traditional stories. I feel like a lot of people don't know that there wasn't just one giant Native American group. There were a lot of smaller tribes, and each individual tribe had their own stories or their own renditions of folklore. Very much excited to read this. I learned a little bit about Native American folklore and myths from the book I read called Women Who Run with Wolves. This author used a lot of traditional Native American stories to explain different female psychology. I'm very excited about this book. Okay, what is next? I think I got through all the books from Half Price Book. The next book I have here is from Get Underline, and literally I squealed when I saw this. The beautiful, gorgeous, most highly anticipated arc of Rory Powers' newest book, Burn Our Bodies Down. Now, if Rory Powers sounds familiar to you, is because she is the author of Wilder Girls, which I made a whole reading vlog on. It was one of my favorite sci-fi books of 2020. It's YA, it's short, it's dark, it's sporadic and amazing and beautiful, and it's full of women, and it is amazing. Okay, so you gotta read it for me, please. This is her newest book, and it doesn't come out until July 7th, and I feel like the luckiest person in the world. Okay, so I believe this is horror slash thriller. Now, I'm not entirely sure because Goodreads says it's like thriller, psychological thriller a little bit, but like most books, we're just gonna find out when we read it. In this book, we're following our main character who lives with her mom in a tiny apartment complex. She doesn't know anything about her mother or her mother's backstory. She just knows that her mother left someplace. So yeah, one day our main character Margot discovers a photograph with a address or the name of a state slash town on it, and that's kind of her key to unlocking her past and figuring out where her mother came from and why she fled this place. So she runs away and she ends up going to this town, and she learns exactly why her mother was hiding this place from her, which I'm guessing there's some like sinister thing going on there. The only thing Margot knows for sure is that there's poison in their family tree. We'll say though, real quick, that the little package it came in, it says you can't escape what runs in your veins, and this is giving me like fire power vibes, so there might be some supernatural fantastical element in here. Okay! Oh my god! Okay, so this next book I have here, the lovely, wonderful, beautiful Francina Simone, who is a booktuber here on YouTube. I'm gonna put her channel down below because if you're not watching her videos, you're missing out because she is a beautiful, amazing, like, voice in this community. The most wonderful person I have ever met, and she has a new book coming out, which comes out in October 2020. She was so kind to give me an arc of her book, which the cover, beautiful black woman, just over here. Yes! I have a sweater and a pair of jeans that are the same color, and I also have a pair of, well, I don't have the hoops on now, but I have a pair of hoops as well, and I'm gonna do a cover recreation because this is just too beautiful not to do a cover creation of. The next book I have is Smash It by Francina Simone. Now, this book is a contemporary book. It is YA. It has a beautiful black female main character who is in high school, and she decides that it is her junior year and she's gonna make it count, and to do that she creates an F-it list. So basically her top 3 things that she's gonna do during her junior year. Olivia James is done with letting her insecurities get the best of her. So she does what any self-respecting hot mess of a girl who wants to smash junior year does. She makes an F-it list. Number 1, be bold. Do the things that scare me. Number 2, learn to take a compliment. I'm still learning that one. I'm with you. Number 3, stand out instead of back. By following her F-it list, she's able to get a part in the school's play, and they're gonna be doing a production of Othello. Because she gets a part in the play, she also ends up meeting new friends, and she ends up gaining not 1, not 2, but 3 different boys' attention. So I am rooting for this to be like this love square thing going on. So Francina described this as just being a very realistic coming of age story where we have this main character who isn't perfect, who makes mistakes, who's figuring out her life and overcoming her insecurities and also learning about herself. Anyways, I am so excited for this book. Congratulations again, Francina. She wrote the most beautiful little note for me in the beginning and also gave me this little custom bookmark to go with it. Love you, girl, and I know, I'm gonna call it now, New York Times #1. We're just gonna put it out there in the universe. The last book I got here is from another friend. She is someone who I met at the North Texas Teen Book Festival. Amara Luciano. Girl, like, she is the most inspiring, wonderful woman. I had the most fun 3 days in Texas with her, and she is also an author, and so of course I had to pick up her book, which is actually a bind-up of 3 different novellas that she's released. The gorgeous covers. Can we, like, women of color, man, we just, everything is on point, okay? 3 young women, 3 dark destinies, 1 chance to change everything. First novella in this book is called Bride of Dreams, and we're following our main character who is pulled between an arranged marriage, which could help settle the hostility in her lands, and also exploring the lands beyond her kingdom. The second novella is called Huntress and the Nightingale, and we're following our main character who was once a huntress of the blessed gods. The very last novella is Storm Mistress, and this is the one I'm most excited for because we're following our main character who is the daughter of a notorious pirate. Yeah, so I am very excited about this one, and thank you so much, Amara, for just, again, an amazing weekend, and I'm very excited to read your book. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, keep reading, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!